All right, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy. We're back. Yeah. So I was scrolling on YouTube today, and I saw this video. If y'all know me, I'm a avid fairy tale fan. If y'all look on the channel, we got a lot of fairy tale 100-year quests, chapter reviews and shit. So I know my shit when it comes to fairy tale, and I think a villain in all of anime, I think one villain that doesn't get talked enough is Agnologia, because first off, he's OP. He's dope as shit, and no one talks about him. Like, I'm not saying he's on the same manipulative scale of Aizen or even as cool as Madara, but I feel like he doesn't get talked about at all, man. At all. So we're gonna see what this guy thinks. He has a whole video here explaining why this Adalogia was almost a perfect villain, bruh. So let's see.
There's a villain who has one of the most badass debuts in anime history, one of the coolest returns I've ever seen, and every time he pops up, death follows. And yet,
For real,
this character's reputation
scary,
isn't what it should be, because in the final stretch, they botched the finish. Today, I'm going to talk about the insanity that is Agnologia.
I feel like another thing with villains nowadays, I feel like they get cooked in the most dumbest ways possible. And I mean possible, bro. Like, I'll tell you what. The whole thing with Fairy Tail, Zeref, I think Zeref's a good villain too, but he doesn't get talked about either. I think, first off, for the most reason I think these villains don't get talked about is because it's Fairy Tail and not because it's like One Piece or Naruto or some shit like that. Like, it's from Fairy Tail. Niggas don't like Fairy Tail for some reason. But another thing is, I feel like anime villains, they get defeated in the most dumbest of ways. Right? Madara got backstabbed so hard. Aizen literally, like, Ichigo was playing with him after training. Like, oh, magically the Dankai, we could train here for a couple of years. Really? How come we've never done it again after that? Like, shit, like, what are we doing? Like, imagine they spent the time training in the Dangai with Squad Zero. You feel me? They'd be crazy, We wouldn't have Renji getting bodied anymore, you feel me? And then, like, I don't know. It feels like that's what goes down in anime.
Interesting character than you might think, and how they were this close to perfection. There's no better way to start this video than to begin with his introduction into the series. For the first 100 or so episodes of Fairy Tail, it's almost like he's their version of He Who Must Not Be Named. But then on Tenro Island, that word, Agnologia, keeps popping up. The responses are what really sell it. People either don't know what it means or immediately freak out upon hearing it. The way it's been used, we don't even know the context of what it is. Is it an attack spell? A monster? A Kanye rant? We don't know, until we do. Which gave us one of the coolest debuts of any villain in anime. Earlier in the Tenro Island arc, we'd been shown how powerful Gildarts is, and that he's on another level from everybody else in the show. When Agnologia arrives, Gildarts basically says, yeah, this is the guy who fucked me up. And you're like, oh, that's who this is. This is gonna be a problem. It takes the entirety of Team Tenro, which remember is every powerful wizard Fairy Tail has, sorry not sorry Mest, joining forces to take him down. Except Agnologia tanks it no problem.
He didn't even have a
dude
scratch.
no-diffs not only the entire Fairy Tail guild, but the entire island. Let me repeat, this dragon popped up out of nowhere and in the same episode wiped out the entire main cast, then dips out like it's another day at the office.
Oh, for real though, he did us.
Everyone on Tenro, they're gone for the next 7 years.
Yeah, he literally pulled up, destroyed the island, and then dipped. Like, he don't give a, like, he didn't even talk to them. He just said, oh, you guys, Dragon Roar, you're done. Left. Like, he was chilling, bro. That wasn't even a side mission for him, bro. That was just like a random day on GTA when you go punch somebody in the face.
I've brought up a few times how the response to this could have been handled better, but as far as making an impactful debut, Agnologia's could not have been better. And just as quickly as he arrived, he vanishes. What a tease.
Yeah, we don't see him for a minute.
150 or so episodes, he's MIA. only for him to follow up that iconic debut with one of my favorite returns in anime. We're deep into the Tartaros arc, the darkest of Fairy Tail, but things are finally looking up. The guild has gotten back together thanks to Lucy, and her summoning of the Celestial Spirit King has given them a huge boost. Then out of nowhere, Natsu's eyes grow wide, and you're confused. He asks Gajiel if he hears that, and after a moment, realization dawns on him too. Now we hear it, a roar in the distance. One by one, everyone who is on Tenro recognizes the sound, one none of them will ever forget. The wings of despair have arrived, and the Fairy Tail Guild is shitting their pants over it, and not in the fun way. Outside of the shock factor of reintroducing the biggest threat in the series, 3/4 of the way through the series' darkest arc, it's so cool how they slowly build it up by showing everyone's terror before we even get a glimpse of Acnologia himself. Just by how they react, his presence is elevated off the charts. Something we get more of in a bit.
Bro,
right
nigga
now,
really
they're
had
so
Conqueror's
screwed
hockey,
that
bro. You got the
Igneel and
nigga
other
scared.
dragons who have sealed themselves inside their children are like, nope, we can't stand by. We gotta help now, or our children will all die. So on top of his epic return, we get that entire reveal and the debut of Igneel, which had well over 200 episodes of build to it. All of this happens in only a few minutes, and it's phenomenal. After we spent all that time waiting to see Igneel, it doesn't take that long for Acnologia to kill him. In a series that usually pulls back at the last moment, they went all the way here. The only saving grace is that Igneel managed to take an arm with him in that fight. To this point, Acnologia has been an unstoppable force of nature, which I love, but what we learn about him is honestly pretty cool too. The most ruthless character in the show with the highest body count, no, not that kind, was originally a doctor who believed human and dragon kind
He
could
was
coexist.
a peaceful dude, man.
Xenoblade Chronicles
And then y'all
X
fucked it up.
Definitive Edition.
You fucked it up
Available
for
March 20th
years.
only on Nintendo Switch.
Bro, I've never seen anyone play that game.
Full Sail
ever.
University
I don't even know what that game is
is where the
about.
next
I've
generation
never
of creators
seen that game in
are
my
learning
life.
to build the future.
A war had begun between humans and dragons for control. It was called the Dragon King Festival.
Yep.
The unnamed doctor wanted peace between both races. It's only when he's betrayed by a dragon named Acnologia, the guardian of his village and a friend, that he begins to change. The betrayal leads to the destruction of his village and the death of a girl named Sonia. In response, the doctor makes it his personal mission to destroy all dragons. That's a promise. Inevitably, to accomplish the goal, he learns dragon slaying magic and goes on a rampage. That was 400 years before the current events, and his rage hasn't subsided. Also, as far as the Dragon King Festival goes, he won. Not humans, not dragons, Acnologia. But in the modern world of Fairy Tail, dragons are basically extinct, so why is he a villain? Well, there's two parts to that answer. First, he witnessed humans sacrifice other humans to dragons to save themselves, and he realized, you know what? Dragons are monsters, but humanity sucks too. Also, the downside of being a dragon slayer is the more you use that ability, the more it changes you. Like Zareth, he's essentially cursed. The man who despises dragons more than anyone else becomes a dragon. This isn't only a physical transformation, but a mental one. His reward for essentially soloing the planet is insanity and an insatiable bloodlust. In fact, killing is all he knows, to the point that he doesn't even remember his own name. He's so full of rage, the only name he remembers is the one that he despises most. That of the dragon who betrayed him, and so he takes that moniker for himself. That and another, the Dragon King. One more bit to add here, he's lost everything and has nothing left to do except keep his promise. Even upon mostly completing that, it's not enough. Now he just wants everything. When you have as much power as he does and there isn't anyone out there who can stop you, that's where this leads. It's the saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is why I love Zareth. He walks up to Acnologia and straight up says he's not going to pick sides for or against the dragon, no, he's just going to kill everyone. Acnologia included. They essentially share the same goal, but have each other as targets. This is the challenge you've been waiting for, right? Well, guess what? It's here. It's a brief chat, and yet such a cool moment between the two most powerful villains of the series.
Bro, I feel like if that was any other series, everyone would have lost their shit at that meeting, bro. They would have been like, oh my god, what the fuck? Yo, like, nah, Fairy Tail, whatever.
Extended break from the Black Dragon. The only other thing we see is that he feels pain where his lost arm would be. I like to think it's because for the first time in centuries, he's not in complete control, and that's causing him mental distress. That takes us to the final arc, where before the fall, we get more hype. In Alvarez, we learn God Serena, the strongest of the Wizard Saints, has turned on his country and decided to join Zeref's Alvarez Empire.
Strongest
The
name in
other
the
Wizard
country
Saints
just said,
attempt to
"Fuck it,
stop
dog."
him, but it's to no avail. Serena's ability to use all kinds of Dragon Slayer magic is too much for them. He stands over them confidently, and then the wind blows, revealing a figure. Holy shit, it's Acnologia. Before you even have time to process it's him, he passes Serena and kills him in an instant. The strongest Wizard Saint lays in a pool of his own blood. As Acnologia keeps walking, not even breaking stride, and once again, this character has absolutely stunned you. Despite his
Just killed the
insanity,
strongest
his
character.
hatred for dragons and dragon
One
slayers
shot,
is Kendrick level petty. He meets Irene Belsirion, which was interesting because they essentially share origins. Both hated dragons and became them. He respects her power, but also understands she's the one who granted the power of dragon slaying to humanity. He's transported away before they can fight, but later on, when she's defeated, we see that pettiness go to a whole new level.
That was the
relentlessly
darkest shit ever,
stomps
bro.
on
They
her
didn't even
corpse
show it
to
in the
his
anime.
disgust with her. Let's recap things real quick. To this point, Acnologia has been the perfect powerhouse villain in every way. Every appearance he's had has felt monumental, and he feels levels above everybody else. In his first appearance, the guild was wiped off the planet for 7 years. His second appearance, he kills Igneal, giving us basically the only major death the series has. Third appearance, he stands face to face with Zeref, and in his fourth appearance, he kills the most powerful wizard in Ishgard. It's a flawless stretch of stakes in a show that doesn't always feel like it has them. We didn't even need all of that to show his legitimacy either. Remember, he's the one who tore Gildarts of all people to shreds. Does Gildarts even struggle with any other opponent the rest of the series? He certainly never feels like he's legitimately in danger. It's why he's rarely around. Dude's a cheat code. And yet Acnologia was the cheat code to the cheat code. But there's one problem with that. The thing is, when you build up a character to be all-powerful, finding out a way to defeat them in a believable way is a challenge, and that's exactly where part of the fall from perfection happens. On paper, if you said it took every Dragon Slayer fighting one half of him in another dimension, while every other wizard in the country seals his other half after exposing him to the weakness of all dragons, and he's fighting without an arm, that sounds like an appropriate ending, but that's on paper and worked a lot better in practice than in execution. Though there is a cool moment at his end when he's dying and says that he wants everything, only for Natsu to say, no one can have everything, and it's kind of the first moment of reflection we see in Acnologia. His response to Natsu, calling him worthy of being a king, something he's likely been searching for centuries, is almost like a sort of deathbed confession. Kinda makes you think there's another similarity here to Zeref, and that deep down, he craved someone who could end his life. His inclusion in the Alvarez arc was awesome, but the transition to his own arc was so rushed that you really didn't feel the same sense of dread or accomplishment that you did
Just
in
because he
past
was
arcs. Or that you
around in the
should have
background
here.
just doing
Though
shit.
he is around, and I brought up a few moments of that, and there are more when he's chasing others, it feels like we go right from facing off with Zeref and his empire for the last 40 episodes into Acno being the big bad for 3.5. We're still reeling from Zeref's end, and you don't have enough reason to care about this new arc that starts immediately after with basically no build-up. For the first time with his character, there were no stakes or carnage. No one felt like they were in danger. It never felt believable that Fairy Tail would lose. At the last moment, they blew it, and it ruined perfection. With that,
Okay, I think that guy kind of contradicted himself at the end. He just said that everything that they did was good, and then he said on paper, and then he said the only reason it was bad is because it felt rushed because we had just got done fighting Zeref, and now we're instantly fighting Idologia for only 3 episodes. Defeating him was realistically, I say, appropriate. Like he said, the 7 Dragon Slayers had to fight a half version of him in his dimension, and the Dragon Self, which has, I guess, only half his power, is fighting everyone else, and they expose his weakness being motion sickness, since we learned from episode motherfucking 1. Put the nigga on a boat, sealed his ass away. That seems fine to me, and the Dragon Slayers beat him, like, and they showed him a better version of living and not just being greedy and having everything in the world to yourself, even though you can, it's just not something you should be trying. You can't have everything. That's just not something that's possible. I think Loki is a good villain. I will say yes. I wouldn't say it felt rushed or it didn't feel like a good victory, like a believable one, but like I feel like it's looked at in an unbelievable way or some shit. But I honestly, it felt like uh, what's it called? Like believable. He has motion sickness because he's a dragon slayer. They figured it out. They put him on a boat that weakened both sides of him, and that helped the dragon slayers win. Like I feel that's believable. That's better than fucking Yuha with the fucking silver arrow shit, and like any other major villain. Like, oh, Ichigo just trained in a Don guy for a couple hundred years and got stronger. Like, why is this never brought up again? And then in Bleach again with the silver arrow. Why was this thing never brought up before? Like, what the fuck? I don't know. I like Logia again. I feel like we should have had more with him, like more like screen time with him. But I feel like that gives more to his character. Like we don't see him because he's like chilling or doing other stuff. And then in 100 Year Quest, we learn that he's actually supposed to be hiding and not doing shit because the other five dragon gods are around, and they're also rivals to him. Which I don't know. I thought that doesn't diminish his characters. I still feel like they all would get clapped by Logia still. And then we have Ferris now with his arm. Like I don't know. It's a lot to go through with Alogia and villains. It's kind of like you said, it's hard to make a character who's a villain imposing and threatening and undefeatable, and then when it comes time to defeat him, it's hard to really, you know, say like, "Oh, that's how we're gonna defeat him" in a believable way, right? Like I don't like. There's no way Yuha was gonna lose to Ichigo 1-on-1, right? There's no way. That's not believable considering he stomped him every time you've seen him. There's just not believable. So guys are making a show. Make sure do not make your villains super duper overpowered to where you have to pull shit out your ass to make them lose. It's not gonna look good. Anyway, I'm gonna about here. Y'all have a nice day. Peace.